Alrighty guys, I'm just going to make a video here showing you how to set up VCarve, how to import your SVGs, and how to program the toolpaths so that the Tormach CNC machines in the laser engraver room can actually make your Mosaic tile. So to start off, I opened up VCarve. You can find it on the desktop. It's going to look like this. It might say 11.5, it might say 11.0, it might say 10.5, or it might say 10.0. Whatever one's on the computer's desktop that you're at, you can use that program. That one will work just fine. So let's open this back up. First thing you want to do is you want to click on Create a New File, which is right here. We're going to open that up, and a couple things we need to look at. This is our job setup here. And this stuff has to be adjusted, and then we have to click OK before we can do anything over here on our work plane. So the first thing, the job type, we're just doing a single-sided, so we don't have to do anything there. Our job size, we are doing the Mosaic tile, and the Mosaic tiles are 5.875 inches by 5.875 inches by 0.25 inches thick. Okay, as you can see here, this little job size image here shows us what dimensions we're talking about. So the width is the X value, the height is the Y value, and the thickness is the Z value. This stuff is going to come into play when we actually go over and use the Tormach machines. Next thing we're going to look at, zero position, material surface. It should always say that. The XY datum position, this one's important. We need to make sure that it's in the lower left-hand corner. Okay, if it's not, it's going to mess up and we're going to end up breaking the machine. So we need to make sure that it's in the lower left-hand corner. Everything else is fine, so we're going to click OK. And now we have our work plane, and we have all these different options over here. We have file operations, so this is like creating new things, opening old things, saving. This one's important here. Import vectors, so we're going to click on that when we import some vectors. And all these other things you guys can kind of hover over. They're very general commands that programs do. Underneath it, we have create vectors. So we can create circles, ellipses, rectangles, polygons, stars. We can draw lines. We can draw like polylines, so lines that have zigzags and stuff in them. This is a curve, or draw an arc. Draw a curve. Freehand drawing. All these things you guys can mess around with. I have not used the vector texture, but we can put it in there. The ones I think you will be using are the draw text and these two buttons, and convert to curves. So these ones are going to be important. Down here we have transform objects. The main one that I use is the align selected objects. And then down here, these are how we can edit the objects we make. We can group them, we can ungroup them, we can cut parts of the vector out, we can join different things. You'll get more experience with that as we go on throughout the year. So let's get into actually uploading a vector. I'm going to click on this one right here, import vectors, and I'm just going to find something that we have on the computer here. So I'm going to do this Lake Michigan. I'm going to click on that, I'm going to click open, and there's my Lake Michigan. Sometimes the vectors appear down here, so if you import it and you don't see it, scroll out with your mouse and see if it's stuck down here. I don't know why it does that, but it does that once in a while. Alright, so I have my Lake Michigan. It is pink and a dashed line right now. That means it is selected. So if I click on it again, I'm going to get these options. I can rotate. I can resize Lake Michigan. Okay, and then I can move it here, left and right, up and down. So I'm actually going to put it over here just to show you guys something. So I don't want it here. I want it on my tile, and I want it dead center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this Align Selected Objects, and then Align to Material. This is my material, so I want to center it in my material, so I can center it there. All these are just going to make sure it's centered. Now if I can use, oops, I'm going to close out of this, and I'm going to click on this again, and I'm going to use my arrow keys, and I can move it over. So now I know it's nice and centered this way, and I'm going to put some text over here. So I want to move them over, Lake Michigan over, and I'm going to add some text. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this draw text, and it just plops it right there. Over here is where we are going to insert our text. So I'm just going to type in Lake and Michigan, Now what I did here, if you didn't notice, is I did lake and then I clicked enter. The size of our work plane, I recommend having your words underneath each other, and then we can center them, which I have right here. It's just going to make it so that the little CNC bits we're using can actually cut out our letters and it's legible. I'm also going to highlight this, and I'm going to bolden my letters, and I'm going to change my font. So there's all these different types of fonts. The one thing that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to kind of mess around with different fonts in the next part of this video to find out what fonts are actually going to show up, since we are working with a very small work plane. So normally big bolded fonts will show up. So like this Cooper Black, something like Arial Black. The one that we currently have out here, this one will work too, but I'm just going to go with this one here. Actually, I'm not going to. The CNC machines normally don't like these overlapping vectors, but we can always cut them out. But for the sake of the video, I'm just going to do something that's a little bit easier. Let's go Lake Michigan. That will work. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink it down, and I'm going to kind of go like that with it so I can fit. Oops. Oh, this happens all the time as well. I'm unable to click on this because I did not click out of my text. So the program thinks I want to add more text. I need to close this out. Click on this, click on it again. There we go. And now I can move it. Okay, of course it's just going to be difficult because I'm trying to move it for the video. All right, so let's put it right about here, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go down here, I'm going to go like that, move it up so it's not touching any of the edges of my work plane. All right, so you need to have two elements on your mosaic tile. We have two elements here. We have Lake Michigan, and we have some text. So now I'm going to program the toolpaths. So to program a toolpath, you need to click on one of your vectors. So I'm going to do Lake Michigan. I'm going to go over to toolpaths, which is right over here. And the main ones we're going to use for this project is going to be the profile toolpath, which is this first one option, or the pocket toolpath. So the pocket toolpath is going to clear all the material out between the pink lines. The profile, that's going to follow the pink line, and it's just going to be one single line. So for Lake Michigan, I'm going to use the pocket. Okay. Once I click on it, it's going to bring me up this menu right here. The start depth should always be 0. The cut depth for our project, we're going to cut down 0.1 inches. Okay. Now down here, it might say for you guys a 1/4 inch end mill or something like that. What we need to do is we need to remove that, and then we need to select a new bit. And the bit we want to select is this end mill 1.5 millimeter. Okay, I'm going to select that, and I'm going to say select. And now it shows up here. For all of our toolpaths, we're going to be using this 1.5 millimeter. We're going to leave all this stuff alone. We're going to click on calculate, and it brings me to this screen. Now we're in 3D view. If you look over here, we were in 2D, we're now in 3D. So we're going to simulate this cut. So I'm going to click this play button right here to make sure that it turns out how I want it to. So I'm going to push play, and it did. It cut out Lake Michigan. It looks all nice and pretty. We're good to go. So next what we're going to do, oops, there we go. I'm just going to leave all this as it is, and I'm going to go back to the 2D view over here, and now I'm going to click on this vector, so my Lake Michigan text vector. I'm going to go back to toolpaths, and I'm going to close out of this screen, and now for the sake of the video, I'm going to do a profile toolpath of this. So I'm going to click on this one. This one has a couple more options over on this side, but again, our cutting depth is going to be starting at 0. We're going to cut down again 0.1. Right here, this should say end mill 1.5 millimeter. If it doesn't, again, you're going to click select. You're going to scroll down and click on this one here. These are all different types of CNC bits that we can use. But again, for this project, the 1.5. Click select. Leave all this stuff alone. If you wanted to change the name of this cut, you could, but we're not going to. I'm going to click calculate. And here it says Lake Michigan. I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to click play. And that's what it's going to look like. So as you can see, it left out some parts of my lettering because the bit we have is too big to do the lines that are in this vector. So I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to now click on my Lake Michigan text. I'm going to go back to the text box over here. So I just click on this, and I'm going to change my font. So I'm going to go up to, let's try Cooper Black here. All right, I'm going to have to either move it or shrink it, but we're just going to see if we can move it a little bit. There we go. I'm going to close out. I'm going to go back over here on this. This is the one we just did that we didn't like. So I'm going to click the checkbox here. I'm going to right click this, go down to delete, and let's say delete this. Okay, so now I'm going to reprogram this one. I'm going to close out. For this one, I'm going to do a profile again. Again, all this stuff should be 0 here, 0.1 here, 1.5 here. I'm going to click calculate again. And now I'm like, I don't like any of this other stuff here. Well, we can get rid of that. So we're going to go down here to reset preview. And it's going to get rid of everything. Now I'm going to click play. And now it says Lake Michigan. I like that, this toolpath much better. All right, so let's close out and do one more thing here. Let's go back to 2D view. Have this select again because it's still pink. This time I'm going to do a pocket instead of a profile. I'm going to click calculate, and it says the select vectors may contain overlaps. So let's just continue and see what happens. Again, I'm going to reset the preview, and we're going to see what this looks like. Lake Michigan. So in this text, I could do either or. I actually prefer this one over the profile. That's the one I would pick. Okay, so I'm actually going to delete this one here, and I'm going to close out. Once you get this far, you're going to call me over, and I'm going to check on your tile to make sure everything works. Then I'm going to come over here, look at your toolpaths, and I'm going to save it. So I'm going to click both of these, and we're going to click Save Toolpath. And we're going to combine all these to one file. And then down here, what I'm going to do is I am going to be changing this. I don't have it on this computer, but there is a file type. Instead of .tap, it's .nc. And that's the specific file type that the Tormach machines use. So we'll save it as that, and you guys will be good to go. Hopefully this video helps. If you have questions, come find me. Thanks.